All right, hello everybody. This is Dave Reed with Sailing World Magazine. We've got a special edition of our Around Sailing World. We have completely checked in with, I think, the entire organizing squad with the Storm Trysail Club, organizes of Block Island Race Week presented by Margaritaville, plus a couple extra faces. Thanks everybody for joining. Today's goal is to find out from you guys what's happening with Block Island Race Week, which is a personal favorite here. As a native Rhode Islander, there is no finer place than Block Island, right? No doubt. It is the jewel of the North Atlantic. Every other year, which makes it nice, right? Because you get a whole year to get excited about it. At least on the East Coast, it is the only legitimate race week, right?
Right.
Yeah,
it is.
Which makes it amazing. But one of the things I love to do every year is just look at the entry list, and to me, it is just always an amazing and a fascinating mix of boats. You know, you got your Grand Prix, you got your rank and file club racers and one designs, and it's just like, even some of the boats are like, wow, I hadn't heard of one of those in a long time. And it sort of feels like all the marinas get emptied out of legitimate, good, competitive boats up and down the eastern seaboard, and it all end up in Block for a good week of racing, right?
Well, we sure hope so.
So ORC, PHRF, 4 one design fleets, including a massive J109 East Coast Championship, which, you know, with that amount of boats, I think you're currently 17 is almost as good as like a North American Championship, right? And the 44s, pursuit racing, you're pretty much throwing everything in there, including a massive gathering of sailors. So it's gonna be cool. Let me introduce the crowd before we get going here to I guess on the Hollywood Squares here up in my upper left, Ray Redness, who's the regatta chair, the Vice Commodore, Storm Trysail, correct?
Yes.
And there's one more role. That's right. You're a PRO of which circle?
Well, I'm actually not on the water this year.
Oh, you're going to run it from land.
Right. I'm going to be standing by.
And below me, Jeff Willis, a longtime J44 owner, who is also acknowledged as the longest standing Block Island Race Week participant that we know of. So a little bit later, we'll have Jeff tell us about what that means in the racing in the J44s and such. And so Ed Cesar below him. Ed, what is your role nowadays? I mean, you were always your past regatta chair, but you seem to be a guy that has 20 hats every time I talk to you.
Currently serving as Commodore of the Storm Trysail Club, was Vice Commodore last time, and with our club, traditionally the event chair is the Vice Commodore. The Vice Commodore gets that lucky berth. So Ray's off to a great start, standing by to help out where we can.
Good luck to you, incoming Commodore. We'll get to you in a minute. So over to the left, Dick Neville, who is also the voice of Block Island Race Week. Had that privilege for a long time. And what's your role this year, Dick?
I'm the, I call it racing manager, just to take out the formal on the water chairman mouthful, just to try to put the race committee together and try to figure out how to put all these boats into the right classes and get them comfortably racing on what we have this year is a slightly reduced number of circles. We're down to 2 circles. We're trying to fit a lot of boats onto 2 circles for economic reasons and COVID as well. But I think we can do it. And we've got pretty good guys that are going to be running those circles. So at the moment, looks like it's all going to work.
All right, we'll get back to you in a minute. And above you, Brian and Kara Shepperly, who we've just met today, are first-timers signed up for Block Island Race Week, and I'm sure you guys will have a plenty good time. So we'll get to you guys in a little bit and hear what's up with your program and your story. In the meantime, I guess for those who will be watching this, who may or may not be on the fence to go to Block Island Race Week, I'm going to turn it over to Ray, and if you could give us sort of your elevator pitch of why we should get out there this year and what's new and different, and what's going to be the lay of the Block Island land out there.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Well, why you should go? Because you'll find some of the best racing you'll find anywhere, and couple that with a beautiful island and lots of places to go and see, and a bunch of good friends that usually come back and year after year, like Jeff. And why you should go is because that's what sailing's all about. And this is, as you say, the last true full week of racing.
You've had the challenge, I guess, this year of managing this thing in a COVID year. A good thing it wasn't last year, I suppose, but which is no easy task for anybody trying to run regattas right now. And so, I mean, can you explain a little bit about how that's impacted some of the planning and what the competitors can expect, competitors and their family and friends, and can expect on island and a bit on the water?
Well, sure. It's affected a lot more than some of the planning. It's affected almost all of the planning, from how do we protect the people that are there? How do we protect the island? How do we be sure that we can operate in a safe, healthy environment? What are the limitations that we're going to face with gatherings, which is, of course, at Black Island Race Week, gatherings are a huge aspect of it, from the nightly tent parties where daily awards are handed out, to long lines at the bar, to just sitting around and talking. We're not going to be able to provide that. We are looking at different ways to provide different pockets of activities. They need to be limited because of the health concerns. So we're working with the folks on the island, the venue, following the rules and regulations of the state. We actually have a COVID task force committee together, and we meet and talk and follow what's going on. So we're doing the best we can to do the most we can with the limitations we're faced with.
It almost, in a lot of ways, this is, a lot of regattas this winter has been tricky. You sort of off the water, straight back to your condo or wherever you're staying. And but here, I guess we have the benefit of you've got a whole island to go play and explore after racing if you want to. So you've got that great asset on your side. And for those who are new to this event, and there's quite a few from what I understand, do you have any recommendations on just sort of maybe pre-planning, what to do if since there is not that big typical tent party?
Crews, of course, are going to be together either way. So they're either going to be in a house together or they're going to be on a boat together, and they'll have their get-togethers with however they're comfortable doing that. Sure, we're going to try to bring as much of the party to the competitors as we can. We're working out ways to get refreshments to them and have them bring them back to their house and celebrate as best they can. I would imagine that we may see a bunch of Zoom calls between different crews and different boats and different parties, and I hope that happens. And I hope we get to join in on some of that. If things ease up, well, we'll do the best we can to start promoting more things and get more happening.
So is that we have the potential of something like the Oompa Oompa bands of the early days driving around on a flatbed truck, delivering Land Shark Lager and margaritas? Is that what you're thinking?
Dave, I guess I came across okay, because we are thinking of packaging, Mount Gay and Regatta Craft mixers and getting them out to the boats, and actually having boats going around with a boombox with a Margaritaville radio on.
Excellent. So it was an absolute surprise to everybody that was at the last edition that when Mr. Jimmy Buffett showed up and played a couple tunes. Do you anticipate he could be on that boat delivering beverages and tunes, or what's the likelihood?
Oh, well, I kind of like that pipe dream, but I have no knowledge of anything like that happening. It would be a huge surprise if he did, especially given the subdued nature of the gatherings.
Yeah.
Like any great performer, which he certainly is, you want that crowd. You want that feedback. As a musician, that's what you live for.
That was wild when he showed up, buzzed in on the seaplane, and showed up. Wow, what a crazy scene it turned into, and quite amazing. How about the lay day? That was always kind of a fun thing for everybody. I was a huge fan of it because it does, as much as the racing is fun, it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break. And do you have any activities planned for lay days, and or the breeze does not cooperate? What's kind of the idea there?
Again, it's very difficult because any kind of like the 5K run that we had, there was a huge gathering, start and finish, and we're not able to do that. We are trying to find things and generate activities for folks to do. It looks like we have a huge performance cruising and pursuit, more family friendly type class right now with 45 odd boats. So we're going to have a lay day, but there are some classes that want to race 5 days. So we're going to try to accommodate everybody's wishes and still give them the best we have to offer.
Awesome. And so for those the pursuit and the more casual types, what's your thought there? You're going to start them as you normally do, a little bit nice and easy later in the morning, or how do you make the experience great and easy for those who don't want to go hard all week?
Well, I think we're actually doing it two different ways, which Dick has his finger more on that than I do. But we're looking at having a class or two with normal Rule 26 starts, and then have a pursuit start for those that want to race in that. We have both spinnaker and non-spinnaker classes. And yes, it's one race a day. It does come off a little bit later and generally ends a little bit sooner. Well, sometimes, depending upon conditions, as everything does. And I think the interest in that's showing up here is significant. We're seeing our single largest group is that group.
And that's coming out of the pursuit start, correct?
Pursuit and the performance cruising, yes.
Okay. Yeah, the pursuit start is outstanding. I don't know if it would be maybe a first experience for some people. My experience is that it really takes out 99.9% of the stress of starting around other boats and just makes life easy off the starting line, which carries on from there. Can you explain the idea of the pursuit start?
Well, the idea is actually pretty straightforward. Boats are handicapped, so knowing what the length of a course is, you can determine, given the handicap, apply it in the front end of the race and have each boat start at a time that already takes their handicap into account. So their correction factor would be their separation factor boat to boat for a start. Obviously, sometimes you have boats that rate the same. So there may be 2, possibly 3 boats on a line at the same time. What it does is it spreads out the starts over a longer period of time, but it allows people to take their time, if you will, getting across the line, not worrying about whether or not they have the right of way or someone else has the right of way. They virtually have it to themselves. So it's up to them to time their start, go over when they're at their pre-described handicap start. And technically, if everybody sailed a perfect race, they'd all finish at the same time.
There you go. So the most important part of a pursuit start is just to really start when your time is to start, not 10 minutes late, right?
Right. Oh yeah. You give it away. You've really given it away.
Yeah. Well, cool. It's at some of the events that we do around the country, it is one of the most popular because it really it just takes away the stress and people love it. So it's a great addition for sure, and I'm sure that fleet will continue to grow. All right. So finally, I guess for you as a long timer, what's your top advice for both the regulars at Block Island Race Week that are coming this year and the first timers? What would be the one thing that you'd put on their to-do list before they get out there?
Okay, good thought. be vaccinated. Get a test if you haven't been vaccinated. Far prefer you to be vaccinated. Be careful, wear a mask. I mean, all the health things that they've been going through anyway. We need to have that continue. It's not like you can come out to Block Island and all of a sudden forget about the rest of the world like you would normally do on Block Island. You really can't do it this year.
Duly noted. Okay. Well, great. Good luck on running the event, and congratulations on your ascension to Commodore. I'm sure you'll just kick back and relax after this one, I'm sure.
Well, I got another year to go before that happens.
All right, let's turn the tables to Dick Neville. You're the man on the street, or I guess the man on the water down there. You've got an army of volunteers. You've got, from what I read, some robo-marks coming in. Can you give us an update on, what's going to happen on the water that's different and new this year?
Well, it's nothing too different than the last event or the one before, but we are trying to go with a smaller race committee, both for COVID and for economic reasons. And we have pretty much spread the fleet between, we will spread the fleet between the two windward leeward circles and we call it the performance cruising fleet, which is both, as Ray said, combined. One class would like to start with a conventional start in that fleet and race one race a day, and then the rest are performance cruising boats sailing at the pursuit start in several classes, including multi-hulls. And the two, I think the difference with the two windward leeward circles is that the classes are going to be bigger, which is great because we've got more entries than we've had in the last two events. We hope that holds. Some people will probably drop out between now and the event, but they have the right to do that. And but the numbers are looking pretty favorable for a bigger event than we had 2 years ago. The biggest change that the sailors will notice is that we're using the robotic marks, the mark set bots that I have had experience with up in Michigan last summer, and they work pretty well. These are from Michigan, this company, and they brought them to an event, and I was a bit skeptical because I'd actually tried them up there 2 years before, and they didn't work at all. So I was like, okay, let's show us how these work. And it was an event for what they call Great Lakes 52s. These are second and third generation TP52. So not much pressure, but the owners, they were a little concerned that these things wouldn't work. And believe it or not, they worked very well. And then the breeze came up the second day. We had 25 to 28 knots of breeze and decent seas. And I thought, well, here's a real test. And believe it or not, they handled that breeze extremely well. So these marks, I think if we can make them work, are going to be something you'll see in the future at other events, because Block Island, we sail in 100 feet of water with current, pretty hard to set and especially change conventionally anchored inflatable marks. It's a workout. We used to have some very, very good mark people that could do that and do it as well as we could, but it was never easy. This, I hope, will actually be easier.
I'm sure it'll be just fine. I have full confidence in you. And they've been testing with these marks a lot over the winter, I know, and a lot of events seem to be pretty happy with them. And I guess there is the fringe benefit that less reliance on hauling stuff from the bottom of the sea to just being able to move things quicker. Does this give you much more flexibility to run your races more efficiently as well? And for the one design guys who want to get in maximum races, actually get more races in?
No question. I think the fact that you can change the course within a couple of minutes very easily certainly speeds up the racing. You can move the pin, I know they will want a bit of time to actually ping the pin with everybody's got these new instruments, or most people in one design have these instruments that they can use to set the line up. But so with 5 minutes to go, we can move the line 5 degrees, 10 degrees, and let the competitors know. And the same with the windward mark. When you want to change the windward mark, it's just a matter of saying, literally, on your tablet, putting it where you want it, and it just motors to that spot and stays there. It's pretty impressive.
Just don't take one out, I think is what I've been told. Just don't sink one because it gets very expensive.
Well, it's the competitors get surprised when they hit one, and they think they're gonna push it away, and then it comes back and attacks them again. That always surprises the competitors,
But you don't have the T-keel hookups, and so that problem goes away as well.
We don't expect any rudders or keels to pick up anchor rods this time. Has been a problem in the past with any regatta.
Those will just be used, I'm assuming, on the one design courses. How about some pursuit and the navigator style races? Will you continue with what you did 2 years ago, or you've been able to refine that and try some different things this year?
No, it's a conventional starting line because we can use one start and finish line for the whole fleet, and that's the economics of those courses. They pay a lower entry fee because we have to put less resources on the market, on the water to serve them. So it's just one signal boat and a conventional inflatable mark, which will drop for them. And that will serve as the starting line for both the Rule 26 start that one class wants to do, and for each of the pursuit starts that goes over the length of the pursuit starting sequence. And then they finish in the same position. So that one's relatively simple to run compared to the windward leeward courses.
And is it your hope to, again, without sort of the pressure to get people into the tent, on time, do you have a little more flexibility for those who want to run, add a few more miles and extend it out a little bit more?
Absolutely. I think not having the pressure of being back at a certain time, which we have always had because we had a firm start date for the tent, which is where people wanted to be at 5 o'clock or whatever the time was, usually 5. And the pressure of getting back to the dock by 4:30 was always there. So this time, I think you're right, Dave. It won't necessarily be required to be back at the dock by 4:30 if we have a nice day. And when you get a nice day in Block Island with the perfect breeze, to run 3 races instead of 2 is pretty nice to be able to do.
Okay, so for competitors coming your way, any tips on how to be ready for this week's race week from an on-water, kind of race management point of view? What to expect?
The important thing is that, again, for COVID, we're not going to be using signal flags at the start. It's all going to be a sound system. It'll be the 5-minute sound system and a radio call. Every boat needs to have a radio that works, and you need to listen pretty carefully because while some of us know that not many competitors actually look at the signal flags, they won't be there to back you up if you're not sure what the time is. So listening to the countdown on the 2 windward leeward circles and checking there will be a timer on the pursuit start as well, making sure that they're broadcasting the time so that if you know your starting time, you'll know well ahead of that your time is coming up. All on radio calls though. It's very important to have a good radio on the boat. And again in the morning when I broadcast from the dock as to what the plans are for the day, it's important to listen and understand what we're doing when we're planning the racing schedule for the day. In the last 2 years, the last 2 events, I should say, we've had to combine the Round the Island race with a windward leeward race for those doing windward lewards, and that's a handful and needs to be planned pretty carefully. It's really, really quite hard to do. I'm hoping this year we can actually have a Round the Island race day on its own, which would be the way we'd like to do it if the weather cooperates. But when you run out of wind days, sometimes you have to plug in another race on that day, and that's hard.
Well, I think I'll stick it here. I think the weather will cooperate, and you're going to have a perfect week. So don't stress about that right now. It's all good. So, but your point being that don't just bring out radio, maybe bring out 3 to the island, so you've got couple good backups and a couple people with ears on the radios to pay attention.
Yeah, this year it's going to be more important than ever.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. At some point in time, when I was talking to somebody, I was like, this is with the unknowns of the party and everything that's gotten this sort of the proliferation of, I guess, of the cruiser class. This is a much more of a throwback Block Island Race Week, right? And in a lot of ways. And so I guess the perfect person to know that throwback would be Jeff Willis. Like, this will be, as far as I understand, your 27th Block Island Race Week, right? So as part of this, the Storm Trysail has started what they call the North Light Society, which is a way to recognize the long timers and the frequenters. I guess it's almost like the frequent flyers club of this thing. And can you tell me a little bit about this North Light thing and what it means for you?
Well, it came as a surprise, really, that they were doing something like this, a pleasant surprise, I'd say. And it's a way to recognize people that have supported the event for many years, as I've done. First one, I missed the first one in 65, but I did 67 on, pretty much. And in those days, we did a lot of around the island races. I sailed with Bob Director and Ted Hood, George Hinman, Tom Young, all names you've probably all heard. They're among the best out there. So I had very good training, and it really hooked me to continue.
Having done all these since the late 60s, have you seen the island change, even though it doesn't change much? And kind of what's your view of Block, and why do you like to go out there so?
I've been going to Block since I was a kid, my parents, and I always enjoy it. We always go for the race week, and we always go when we're cruising. It's still exciting to me to enter Great Salt Pond and see all the boats getting ready to sail and race. So I love to bring my family out there, and even had my grandson a couple of times and come up and get the awards. Dick probably remembers that. Quite exciting for us. And the whole family comes. They're all sailors, and they really enjoy it. And as far as Block Island changing, it hasn't changed a lot. I mean, there are a lot more homes now and some condos and things like that. I mean, I remember going from Paynes over to Champlin's before the boat base was there, and there were all cows in the field and haystacks all around. So there's a little bit of that. And actually, at one point, they used to cut the ice out of the ponds in the winter and then pack them in hay and sell them at Champlin's dock.
And sometimes when you go for your Malkin and tonic, you'd end up, or whatever drink was, and a little piece of hay in your drink.
You could.
So for the first timers, like I said earlier, there's quite a few. What would be your sort of one lasting and most important piece of advice? Getting ready to go out there.
I use the same formula for all the races I do. I start at the bow and work my way aft. Take a look at everything and try and anticipate any problems that might be, and have the spare parts necessary, as we discussed. Leave no stone unturned is the best way. We've never dropped out for a breakdown in all the years I've done it.
Great. Let's turn to our first timers then, I guess. Brian and Kara, checking in from Norwalk, Connecticut, and you guys have from what I've understand, have entered the X382, which is, I'm not sure if it's new to you, but it's I'm sure it's a boat that's been around for a good bit. And what's your Block Island story? I guess you're now a chip off the block, and what brought you there, and what's your story?
Sure. Well, the first thing I just learned is that we need to get a trailer. I hadn't anticipated that as part of the prep for Block Island Race Week, but I'll get right on that. Unfortunately, I just missed the Defender warehouse sale for all those extra parts, but I'm sure I can figure that out. No, so Karen and I, we actually met sailing in college. We were dinghy sailors. My dad was a powerboater growing up, so we didn't have all that much I didn't have much big boat sailing experience. And so, our first foray into that was when we were in college. We had sailed in the IOR regatta that the Storm Trysail Club puts on. And we found out, very quickly we loved racing big boats. And so, we lived in DC for a while. When we moved up here, we were close to the water, and we could do it. We bought a Sabre 30, and we raced that for a couple years. I think that boat was, it was a good boat, but it was at the end of its life. And so, when we had a chance, we upgraded to this boat, and it's been great. And then, I think it was pretty cool. 2 years ago, we put our boat back into the IOR program, and so we had a bunch of students from McGill racing in that boat, and probably we'll have them in some of the regattas coming up. So that's been great. And then this boat, we spent the last 2 years kind of learning how to sail it. It's been a pretty big step up to a 38-foot boat and racing that. But we've kind of entered in everything that we can enter in. And we've been doing a lot of racing, including with our 2-year-old son. We figured out very quickly you can strap a car seat to the aft rail. And we had him out there with us.
It prefers the jack lines though, because you can run up and down the length of the boat and you can yell at your competition. So it does kind of throw them off.
Yeah, so he particularly likes some mark roundings. When you're turning the corner at at the leeward mark, he'll start yelling at you and your competition to grind harder. So that's been fun. So yeah, that's kind of how we ended up here. And our crew, we've kind of gone from both places of having experienced crew that we did the whole thing where we had people that would say they were going to show up, did show up. We've had and then we've had really committed crew, and we kind of ended up probably, what was that, 2 years ago? We decided to take on a whole bunch of folks who hadn't really had much sailing experience before.
No sailing experience.
No sailing experience.
Never stepped in a boat.
But the thing we were prioritizing for is we wanted to have a reliable set of people.
Very reliable. No experience, very reliable. So we were like, we'll take you guys.
And so we spent the last couple of years kind of training up this group of people that hadn't sailed before. And we've had them on our boat, and it's actually been great. It's been really rewarding, teaching people, introducing them to the sport. And then, for a lot of people, they'd never been to any of these regattas, never been to a yacht club, when we do some of these races. And I think it was great, like having, introducing them to this life. Kara and I kind of live sailing. We love sailing. We spend, every day we try to get in the boat like 5 days a week in the summer. And so Block Island Race Week came around. I've been going to Block Island since I was a kid, never raced in the race week, but I've always wanted to. And, we said we have to do it. There's, it doesn't really matter if there's COVID restrictions, of course there's going to be COVID restrictions. Like, it's been kind of like a bucket list event that we want to do. And so, we signed up. And then I think we're also really excited because some of those crew who, we brought up sailing on our boat, this is going to be their first, week-long regatta. And so we're going to be, staying on our boat. It's probably going to be some close quarters, but it's like, I think it's gonna be a great experience for them and for us. So we're pretty excited for it.
That's awesome. I think that's we've been talking about years about that's I think it's one thing that's really been missing from the sport, and that's great about this event is trying to bring back, especially given the housing costs of more liveaboards, and people just, hey, you race what you're sleeping on, and that's really part of the fun, and I think speaks to the adventure and just the escapism of Margaritaville, right? So kind of a perfect fit. And
it's funny to that end, we're having a debate right now with, right now we can sleep 6 people in berths, right? And we're having a debate of like, the boat sails best with 8, 8 to 9. And, there are people who are like, well, we can sleep up in the cockpit. Someone else is like, we get like one of those camping air mattresses. We could throw them down on, the salon floor. How are we going to allocate the beds? But, I think, I once at the boat base, and I strung a hammock up between 2 pilings and had a pretty interesting night doing that when it was blowing about 30 knots. But I'm sure we'll figure it out, and we're really excited to have a great time and meet a bunch of folks. One of the other things that we didn't really mention was like a lot of the people I grew up when I grew up, I sailed at Greenwich High School, and there's a whole bunch of folks that I had sailed with and in that era that are now, they either own boats or they're crewing on boats. And so I'm also excited to start seeing them at events like this. So that's going to be exciting as well.
Awesome. So where have you got your slip assignment, and where are you guys going to be tied up in? Did you find that will the party gather around you, or were you guys seeking the party elsewhere?
We currently have a reservation of Paynes. I'm hoping it's not in that one slip in the parking lot where the light from the parking lot like blares down on you.
I requested that specifically.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be right there.
So so we're at Paynes. A little worried about, we want to have practice days and everything, and sometimes you really get boxed in there. So hopefully we'll be able to get there late enough that we're on the outside. But yeah, when we go to block, we like to say at Paynes, if you can get a slip at the boat base, that's great, but it's like almost impossible, especially because we kind of do let things last minute, or we'll anchor out or grab a mooring. I actually didn't know, how hard is it to grab a mooring during race week? Like, are people, pretty good about that, or is it? I figured it was either anchor out or be at Paynes.
Yeah, the anchoring always makes things interesting for those trying to find their way back to the back to the boat after Yellow Kittens. But so yeah, I think you're safe at Paynes. That everybody will find a place to sleep. So that was a good, smart move there for a first timer.
Yeah.
So real quickly, so you sail the boat with 8. You guys are doing the pursuit start, I guess, right? And have you run through your crew on how this is all going to go, or are you just going to get out there and see what happens?
The group that we're bringing is kind of is some of the core members of the crew that have been there a lot, and then also we prioritize on who helped us, sand the bottom, and we redid the teak on the boat this year. We had to recock it, so who was there with the most weekends, sanding and all that. But we're gonna have our leg out, 100 miles to practice and everything. And then one of the things that we've been pretty thankful of is stepping up to a boat this big. The first couple of years we didn't race spinnakers just because we wanted to keep everything under control. But we've had a fair amount of mentors. We're members at Norwalk Yacht Club, and there's been a fair amount of people that have offered to come out and teach us stuff on the boat, teach us all the tricks of the trade. And so the last year we started racing the spinnaker class. And so I think for this we'll have a good group of people who've been familiar with the boat, and then we'll have 100 miles on the way out to practice spinnaker drops and tacking and jibing. Well, not tacking with the spinnaker, but jibing, etc.
Yeah. Spinnaker drops overrated, as long as it stays in the boat, you're all good, right?
Yeah, and we also have an asymmetric and a symmetric. So when things get really sporty, we either put the asymmetric out, or we'll just pull out the Genoa.
Outstanding. And is your is he still 2-year-old son, or is it maybe older by then, or whatever? What's his role in the boat, or what are you going to do with him when you're not racing, or when you're racing?
He's still 2 years old, but that's to be determined. We might bring him, we might not.
Yeah, his favorite spot is back at the helm with me, or trying to grind on the winch, which we try to keep him away from when it's windy out.
All right, so this sounds like it could be a parental escape weekend. So good luck if you can pull that off. It'd be great. That's what the beauty of grandparents and friends and family, right? To let you go play for a week and have a great story to come home and tell, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right. We'll see you at Paynes, I guess. And in the meantime, I guess so the final question for you then would be: how do you possibly prepare your food and beverage program for this size of crew and your given your living conditions?
I got a great cookbook called the Cruising Chef Cookbook, which has, I believe, a 3-week plan for if you're crossing the Atlantic.
I don't like this cookbook.
Kara doesn't like it that much,
No.
but I luckily, with the crew, we dealt. What we'll probably do is have a cooking competition for every single day. I've actually modified this from other trips we've done, and we have one person who's responsible for every day and the ingredients. And part of the challenge is we're trying to minimize weight. Can't bring all that much stuff on board, and it sucks to go to the grocery store. At 4:30 when you get back in, you want to have Mount Gann tonic. So we're gonna have levers that you'll have to pull, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. It'll be pretty fun.
Back up.
All right.
Bean shakes.
Yeah. So I see Ed shaking his head, being like, "Oh God," So maybe just screw the trailer of parts idea, and just a trailer full of food and beer and a grill, and just and send it
That
back.
sounds very reasonable. Yeah.
The good news is, as a good backup, Rebecca's at Paynes is pretty good. They have some good takeout food there.
And the beauty is that, don't forget, there's 150 something or 60 teams out there doing the same thing, and there's crew houses, and you make friends and you get your invitations, and you scatter yourself around the island. People will find a way to get fed and drink, right?
Yep.
Is that true, Ed?
Absolutely.
All right. Where's your house, and can they come find you, or are you keeping that undisclosed?
State secret.
So, all right, Ed, your turn.
Actually, we're fellow Norwalk Yacht Club members, so those guys are welcome. I'll give them the inside dope. They're welcome in our house.
There you go. And pitch a tent out there, no problem. I'm sure like Block Island houses all have outdoor showers. So as long as you got a way to get to Ed's house, then I think you got your accommodations are all set.
Sorry, Ed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do have the luxurious transom shower in our boat, so that works out pretty well for the crew as well.
We'll fix you up, guys. Don't worry.
So Ed, former Commodore, or past Commodore, maybe if you can speak a little bit to your experience at a block about speaking of family side events and things to do for those who are out there with racers but not necessarily racing. Do you have a sense of what would be your advice for those not on the water to keep themselves busy all day?
Yeah, sure. Actually, just to clarify, I'm currently Commodore, Ray is Vice Commodore, and traditionally at Storm Trysail, when you get to be Vice Commodore, you get to be Block Island Race Week event chair. Good news, bad news. But so I did my bit in 2019. My timing was good, but stand by to help Ray as much as we can. So I think I've done 7, which that's not many compared to this crowd. But Block Island is such a spectacular setting. Just enjoying that island and particularly the southwest corner of it with all those rolling fields and ponds. It's a special place. And I think folks like Iris Fogel, folks like Paul Zavatakis, maybe one of our #1 Block Island fans, just love the island. It's a special place.
And so which part of the island do you typically like to stay?
So, yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm a relative, not newcomer, but I haven't done all that many. But I think it's a trade-off between being out where it's really beautiful and quiet and being close to the marinas. I think it kind of depends on what kind of a week you want to have. This year, if I had a choice, I think it'd be out in the southwest corner, finish up racing, get back to the house, and enjoy the island. But great signups. I think we're up 35 or 40% year over year. We've been trying to bring the event back to the future, put more fun into it, bring more teams like Brian and Kara's. I think we're going where the market is, and I think that's what people want to see, and kind of get back to the way things used to be in some ways. So, and in some ways, the pandemic's helping that this year. Won't have the tent, obviously, but we got liverboards, which is just fantastic. We're going to have some music patrolling around the pond, maybe Radio Margaritaville instead of the Dixieland Band, but that'll sound familiar. So we're really excited about the event.
Very cool. To be fair, I mean, most people probably just think, hey, Storm Trysail just runs Block Island Race Week, but obviously Storm Trysail does a lot more than that. For those not familiar with the organization, give us a quick lay of the land of what else you guys do.
Yeah, sure. We actually added it up, and over a 2-year cycle because race week's every 2 years, we either are the OA organizer or a partner club for 32 events.
Wow.
And that includes things like the Pineapple Cup, that legendary Miami to Jamaica race, things like the Mount Hagen Island race, our own Block Island race. We're a partner club for the coming up Annapolis to Newport race. And then, as most people know, we've got, a really robust and broad array of safety at sea education opportunities. So it's a busy club. It's obviously an offshore-oriented club. So it's a little bit ironic that Block Island Race Week is our iconic event and part of our origin story. But some of the guys that developed Block Island Race Week were coming back from Cows Week in England and felt, hey, wouldn't it be great to have an event over here? So we're connected to Cows Week that way, which means the event is, once removed, connected to the Fastnet race. So there's your offshore connection. And most of all, it's connected to fun, because that's a lot about what the Storm Trysail Club is about and what it'll continue to be. So it's a great event. It's a great club. we do all we can to support offshore racing and racing in general here in the States.
I would say that sometimes when you exit the salt pond, it sometimes, in my experience, does feel like you're plenty offshore enough. And certainly when you're going around the island the last couple of years.
It's a big body of water, and somehow there's always some fog.
Yeah, and a lot of water moving through there too, for sure. Well, it's ironic you sort of bring in Cows Week, which I think is they open up their entries and boom, hit their cap, which is always amazing, but certainly shows the health of these events, right? And so you guys are teed up for a great one, and we're, I think, as we said, about 160 so entries or registrations at this point.
Yeah, it's a great number. Yep.
Could be a bump, but for those, so go back to Ray real quick. If I was going, hey, this sounds fun, and here it is mid-April, what are the key steps to, I guess, registering and being ready and able to do this in a short turnaround, given?
Well, anyone can do that by accessing yachtscoring.com and just go to the Block Island Race Week page, and you can just log in there and enter and pay your fee, enter the data on your boat, select what type of sailing you want to do, either windward leeward, PHRF, ORC, whatever the game is, and you're there. There will also be that will be the official notice board. So all information that you will need to know. Notice of race is there. Sailing instructions will be there when they're posted. We will have other pieces of information. There are already some safety stuff that's posted. And that would be the place to go to find out what you need.
Sign up early, get your start done. So final question for you, Ray, then is, there's been this hat behind you that I keep seeing. What is that thing? It looks like it's in a photo shoot.
Yeah, this is my favorite Block Island hat from Block Island 22. It's one of the old logo, old material, fades out. I've got a few others. I got lots of red ones that don't age and don't look like this.
There you go.
These are coveted.
All right, so that's the hat of the week then. Don't get it blown off then.
No, I usually have a little strap that I have. I use fishing twine, and at the other end of the fishing twine, I have a button that I button right into a shirt right here.
There you go. See, that's old school wisdom right there. Got that, Brian? Fishing line. All right. Well, hey, it's been great catching up with everybody, and I look forward to seeing you out on the island. And good luck, everybody. Getting ready. Stay healthy, and stay out of trouble, and get to the island safely. And we'll see you out there then.
Yes, sir. You too.
That's good.
All right. Thanks all. Have a great week.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye now.